Dream podcast guests. Now, keep in mind, I still haven't come up with my dream podcast guest. I'm going to fire it to you. So this is.
I mean, I thought you had, but alright, fair.
I can't remember who I said. Oh well. We're going to go for So I'm going to fire it over to Jack now. This is essentially one person that we would love to have on the podcast if we ever start doing guests. I've got one person talking to me about being a guest, by the way, which we might talk about after this. Keep it hush hush for now. I said to him that I would like to build the audience a bit more before I have a guest on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He could very much help with that audience growth. True. So
I think I know what you're on about.
Yeah. So
my dream
go for it.
Podcast guest. Now I have many interests. My main one is probably football. Alongside, certain technologies. But for me, football's always been a massive part of my life. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, probably unfortunately, I've grown up as a Newcastle fan. So, for me, it's always been about watching Newcastle, supporting them not as glorious as other teams.
Lebo, kill or die.
So for me, it's always been. I've always looked at certain players and tried to build my game off it. Now,
Shearer Amiobi,
as an attacking player, as an attacking player, I have obviously always watched one man.
There's only one man.
Second to absolutely no one.
And that's not Hitler, by the way.
Yeah, you can't see his hand. Yeah. Big Al, the big
Al. What a legend.
I think he just, my favourite podcast that I've ever watched is Bar Hours.
Bar Hours, of course, that's the best on the internet.
Is True Geordies with Alan Shearer.
Yeah.
And it basically just talks about the sacrifices he's made and, basically just what an absolute top bloke he is.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I always used to watch him, and my dad always used to be like, "If you don't eat your vegetables, you're not going to be
you're not going to be like Alan.
You're not going to be big like Alan."
Like Shearer. That TV show where Michael Owen used to come out the poster.
And it's just like, obviously watching him growing up has been a massive sort of influence in my love for the game, and obviously tried picking up on stuff that he does.
The celebration.
Not what's the word? Executing to his sort of level, but I just think what an absolute player. Undoubtedly in my mind the best striker in Premier League history.
Yeah.
Sort of back that up by scoring a shit ton of goals.
Mm-hmm.
But I think won titles with Blackburn, then played for his boy club for Newcastle. Obviously,
played for his country, captained his country.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing for me is the fact that he scored so many goals.
Yeah.
And yet he spent the good part of 3 seasons out injured. And you sort of think,
true,
what could he have done if he wasn't?
And
also, what could he have done if he wasn't at Newcastle? And now, obviously, that would be a question that everyone will always ask.
Yeah.
And based on that podcast, you get the impression that he doesn't care because it's his boyhood club.
He was living the dream.
So for him it is. But I would just I guess watching True Geordie's podcast, you kind of answer a lot of your questions there.
Yeah.
But I'd very much be sort of interested in stuff other than football.
So for me, with him, my main question line that I would like to go down after we've done the obvious ones of what's it like to be in professional football, all that crap, I would want to dive into what is it like when you finish playing football?
Yeah.
What does your life feel like now that you don't do this thing you've been doing your whole life?
Basically.
How do you make up your time? How do you make a living? Because he wasn't on the wages that's going to now set him up for life. He was earning a decent amount of money, don't get me wrong. But he's not on the Ronaldo levels where Ronaldo will retire and not have to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, Alan Shearer still had to go and do something. But he tried management.
Yeah.
He's doing punditry. What's it like after you finish football?
And that's another sort of reason why I'd want to sort of have him on, is because not only does he know the game very well, because he's obviously played to that standard and, you know, been, you know, the best striker in the Premier League, but he also talks about it with sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to be good at something physically, but to be mentally good at it as well. I mean, obviously, in his latter years, that was why he kept up to a high standards, because he was a yard ahead in his head. But
like
the way that he talks about the game and how teams have, like, obviously on Match of the Day, it would be like, right, okay, he'll break something down to all the minor details, and sort of watching him talk about that again. You watch him play and you pick up certain bits, but you can also listen to him talk about it and he just knows what he's on about.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are a lot of footballers, especially nowadays, that might be a good player, but if they were to talk to you about football, wouldn't be able to put across their points that they want to, maybe even have the knowledge to be able to do it.
One for me is Danny Murphy.
Yeah,
I mean, he reacted to a tweet that I put towards Match of the Day 2 once because he was not happy with what I said about him.
Yeah.
But like I said that I just didn't understand what he was going on about. Like, why are you saying that? It makes no sense. And even his comeback to me didn't make any sense. So like for me, there's players out there that can talk the talk and walk the walk. There's players that can walk the walk, but when it comes to trying to break something down, they're not Alan Shearer, they're not Gary Lineker, they're not Rio Ferdinand or Jose Mourinho or Carragher or Neville.
Do you know
they're
what?
Just not at that level. Michael Owen is just awful. Let's face it.
When someone like Glenn Hoddle speaks, you actually listen to him.
Yeah.
When someone like, well, he's got better, but initially Jamie Redknapp, you sort of think,
you're a pretty face, mate. That's why you're on this show.
But like, obviously over time he's got better.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like whenever I see Michael Owen, as a pundit, I'm just like,
right, I'll go and get a drink.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna sit.
Why?
Yeah.
But like, you know, for me, I'd like to know. Obviously, supporting the team for my entire life, I'd like to get a further appreciation of how the club actually works and talk to him about Mike Ashley and his personal interactions with him, how the club runs, and why the fan base is so dedicated even after all the shit that they got to deal with.
Newcastle fans are on another level.
It's something that
they're up there with West Ham fans.
It's something that we won't understand because we're not from there. But it's something that I would like to know about. So.
Like if I was trying to like relate that to Cheltenham Town fans.
Yeah.
Cheltenham Town fans, I am part of Cheltenham. I go to Cheltenham Town games irregularly, but there was one season where I went every week.
Yeah.
Near enough. They're just fucking idiots.
Yeah.
All the fans are just fucking idiots. They don't have a clue what they're talking about. Yeah. The reason I don't go anymore is because I can't keep my mouth shut when I'm sat there trying to watch the game and they're talking shit. Yeah. And I'm just like, mate, you don't have a clue what you're talking about. Sit down and shut the fuck up. Like, I like to think that I have a footballing brain.
Yeah.
I don't have the footballing body, but I do have a footballing brain. I was a decent coach. I coached to a decent level. I would like to think that if I was in that punditry position, maybe not on the main stage, if there was punditry for like lower league football, I think I'd be able to do an alright job at it.
I would feel like if I was put on a pedestal, I would have some reasonable arguments for why something was good,
or even some like analysis. Yeah. If you had in front of you one clip, you can go, well, the reason why that's happened is because this X player is moving to that position.
Exactly.
But like the fans at Cheltenham are just idiots. But so let's move on to my dream podcast guest. Whilst you're talking there, I'm rattling loads of names around my head.
Yeah.
And I think I've settled on one. So
you had Gaza.
I had Gaza, who's a footballer, obviously, that I think was incredible. Maybe a bit before my time, arguably. Beckham would potentially be another one. The things that he went through throughout his career were pretty mental.
Yeah.
Another one that sprung to my mind, just because he's probably in my top 5 favourite players of all time, is Rio Ferdinand.
Right. And
the stuff he went through throughout his whole life has been pretty drastic, with drug allegations, his wife dying, cheating allegations, all sorts going on.
Making shit calls about Man United being back.
Yeah, true. Getting Ollie to sign the contract. Ollie's
at the wheel.
Back, baby. So, like, loads of footballers in there. I'd also then thought about some YouTube stars that I thought I'd want as guests. So, like, the True Geordie comes up, but he's very much going to be a topic of one of our future conversations. Mr. Beast is someone that I'd love to have on just because of how he's risen. Vicstar123 is one because I genuinely want to be his mate.
And the just absolute graft.
Yeah, and he just grafts like hell. The sidemen in general, any of them I'd be interested in. But I've gone with one of my other loves, which is music.
Yeah.
And I've nailed it down to one guy who... Again, there's other people within music that I wanted to maybe do, like Eminem. Yeah. Eminem would be a great one.
Yeah, that would be
to get sick, into his head would be pretty cool. Ed Sheeran, for the amount of people that he's worked with, would be one that I'd want to get into. But this guy,
I want to know who his favourite collab would be.
What, Ed Sheeran?
Yeah, just
he's bloody collab with everybody at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
So is there one that he hasn't got? Maybe, who knows?
Or even better, who the worst?
Who's the worst collab?
Bit dish, bit goss.
So did you know that he nearly did a collab with Jay-Z?
Did he?
So it was... This is going massively off topic.
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran, Stormzy, Take Me Back to London.
Yeah.
Originally had Jay-Z on it.
Oh.
Stormzy said that it didn't work with Jay-Z on, so Ed Sheeran got rid of him. How mental is that? Anyway.
Yeah, so your dream podcast
guest is going to be Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl, lead singer of the Foo Fighters. Now, also drummer of Nirvana. You've got the whole Kurt Cobain scenario where Kurt Cobain passed away and Dave Grohl was like his best friend.
Yeah.
You know, Dave Grohl was then... Nirvana obviously finished. Dave Grohl had to then take himself and try and love music again when his best friend had died. He has gone through so much that I just think he's got so many stories to tell. But then, flipping that, it's not just the stories he's got to tell, it's the opinions he'd have on topics. So, like, for example, he stopped mid-set once. So he's doing a live performance. He stopped to get security to kick a bloke out because he'd pushed a woman or something. He was like, I want that twat out my fucking gig. And he just stopped midway through the song, went, right, stop, guys, stop. And he just went, I want him out. Yeah. And like they threw him out. And he was like, everyone, it just, the speech he then gave, because I've watched it, and he's like, you guys are like family.
Yeah.
I fucking love every single one of you, and we look after each other.
Yeah.
Yes, we play songs where you're rocking out and you might jump around and barge into people, that's fine. But if you see someone fall over, you pick them up. Because you are all here to enjoy the same thing. So let's enjoy it.
And that's a life lesson.
And that's a life lesson. But like, if he's got that view on that, what would he have had? What view would he had on that Weinstein conversation we've had today?
Yeah.
He would have had so many different insights
I'd
to go into.
I'd like to think that a lot of people would be disgusted by it.
No, but I just think that he would just come from a completely different angle.
Yeah.
And then
that's the benefit of people like him. People who are creative, people who are at the top of whatever game they are in.
Mm-hmm.
They always have this capability to just flip something on their head and have a different approach. And then you sort of then think about it in a different way and just like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, and then like the standard questions I'd ask him would be like, who your music influence is, who would you like to work with, what do you want to be remembered as a musician. Yeah. But then I'd want to share this one moment with him as well where he was at Reading Festival. I'm stood in the pouring rain watching him and he just stops, gets an acoustic guitar out, starts playing these chords, which I'm like, I know these chords. I know the tune of this song. Like, where's this going? And it's kind of a slowed down version of something. And then he's talking about Kurt Cobain, talking about how it changed his life, how he's had to pick himself up and find a love for music again, blah blah blah. And he just starts playing My Hero on acoustic. It brought me to tears as a 18-year-old lad in a field drinking. Like, it brought me to tears.
Blamed it on the rain.
Blamed it on the rain, but it was tears stream.
Yeah.
Coldplay stuff.